Book It. This is Book It with Kendall and East. All right. So I'm an avid reader. I love to read books and listen to audio books. And I posted my book list and how many books I read last year. And I asked if you wanted me to talk about some of the other books that I read. Let me know. So someone said, let her know. So that's what I am doing. But I thought I would do it differently this time and just focus on the memoirs or autobiographies, and then I'll do another video with the other books. But I didn't want to just say, okay, what are some of the autobiographies I read last year or the year before that. I wanted to give you a list of some good ones because they're never going to get old. I like to read them as soon as they come out. Some I didn't know that they had, and I read them when I know that they've come out, because as a life coach and as a human being, I'm fascinated with other people's journeys, right? Not the salacious parts and all of that, but if that's part of their journey, that's part of their journey. But I love to see how somebody was here and how they got to wherever they got in their journey and what did they learn from it. So I'm going to show you some of my autobiographies, but I'm going to read some to you in this one, and then maybe I'll do a part two of the autobiographies if that's what you want. So let's start with some in no order. The Meaning of Mariah Carey, that was a good one. The Mother of Black Hollywood, Jennifer Lewis's autobiography. We're going to Need More Wine, Gabrielle Union. Around the Way Girl, Taraji P. Henson. I have a list here on my device. That was a good book. Believing in Magic, Cookie Johnson's autobiography. I think I might read that again. It's No Secret, Carmen Bryan. If you don't know who Carmen Bryan is, that is the woman who was with Jay-Z and Nas and supposedly created that beef. That's what we hear, right? But I wanted to read her story, right? Because oftentimes the person that we don't know, people are taking sides. So I wanted to read her story. Sing to Me, L.A. Reid. My Voice, Angie Martinez. I Am Charlie Wilson. His autobiography was great. He talks about of course, his struggles in the music industry as well as in his personal life with substance abuse. After the Dance. Rest in Paradise, Jan Gaye, Nona Gaye's mom, who was married to Marvin Gaye. That story, After the Dance, if you have not read that, all I would say is she was a child when she got with Marvin Gaye. I'll leave it from there, and you can read the rest of the story. It was very telling and fascinating. I read Black Privilege, Charlemagne the God. That's really his, even though he intertwined some other things, that's he's talking about his life, as well as, let's see what else. Let Love Rule, Lenny Kravitz. I think I did a review on my channel about that book. Unbreak My Heart, Toni Braxton. I read that multiple times. Will Smith's book, I read that 6 times because there's so many gems and jewels in there. I talked about Jada's. I read that and listened to the audio. What else? Hold up. Let me get some books. I figured I'll show you some of, well, let me start here. Kim Fields, Blessed Life, LL Cool J. That came out years ago. That was a good book. He shared a lot in there. Earl, Rest in Paradise to DMX. That was good. One Day It All Makes Sense. Common. Bobby Brown. I had the pleasure of hosting his book signing. I'll talk about that later and give you detail if that's what you want. And then Will and Jada Worthy, and Jada signed this book for me. Latoya Jackson, Robin Givens. Now let me tell you something about this book right here. Robin Givens, that was one of the most, I read that years ago, and that was one of the most well-written books I've ever read. hers was good. No, it's not all about Mike Tyson. He's a small part of her history. Patti LaBelle, that was a great autobiography. Don't Block the Blessing. Uh, Vivica Fox, Every Day I'm Hustling, that was good. Faith Evans, great. Star Jones, Montel Williams. Pep, let's talk about Pep. That was a very good book. Peppa from Salt and Pepper. Corinne Steffens, we know that story. I talked about that. Todd Bridges, Killing Willis, Wendy Williams, that was a great book. I read that years ago. Berry Gordy, I just got this from the Motown Museum in Detroit not that long ago, so I haven't read. That's probably the only one up there that I haven't read. And I didn't read Montel Williams. Those are probably the only two on my whole bookshelf. There's another Wendy book. I've read Deborah Lee's book, former CEO of BET, Straight Shooter, Stephen A. Smith. I talked about More Myself from Alicia Keys. That was actually a great book because we've heard a lot of things with Alicia Keys and what had happened was and all of these, but for her to be able to share her story in her words, it was not that I thought it wouldn't be a good book, but it surprised me how much I enjoyed that. ESPN or former ESPN Jamel Hill, Uphill, her autobiography was good. She talks about her life growing up in Detroit and her life from that point on and always loving sports and her relationship with her mom. Just so many things. That was great. I read that I think 2 or 3 times as well. The Views, Sunny Hawson, I Am These Truths. Her autobiography was very good as well. I think I might read that one again. That was good. We got to know a lot about Sunny. Now, of course, when you're on a show like The View, you're gonna learn little droplets of someone's life because they're on TV every single day. So you're going to see. But there was a whole lot more in her autobiography. Raekwon, From Staircase to Stage, of Wu-Tang. That was a good book. Y'all would probably be surprised that I read that book as well as Gucci Mane's autobiography. The autobiography of Gucci Mane, if that's that one. That was good. I told you I'm fascinated with stories. It doesn't matter who it is, from Michelle Obama's book to Gucci Mane. I will read it. Where Tomorrows Aren't Promised, Carmelo Anthony, his autobiography. Didn't even know he had one. I was scrolling through some books and said, oh, he has one? Let me read that. I'm in Maryland. He was raised partly in Baltimore. Let me see what's going on, because I didn't know much about Carmelo other than his basketball statistics. He was married to Lala, their drama that they had. But I heard bits and pieces, but I didn't know about him. Again, I like to see about the person beyond the headlines. Great book. Cicely Tyson, Just As I Am. Read that book 3 times. It was right before she passed. She did the audio book to hear her voice and her wisdom and her story 3 times. I may even listen to that audio again another time. That's how powerful that book was. So those are just a few of the autobiographies I've read. I have a list of some that I'm going to read for this year, in addition to other types of book. Self-improvement books, emotional mental health books, novels, some biographies, but I like autobiographies and memoirs. I love those. Biographies, somebody else is telling the story. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear from the person who experienced the experiences, right? That's a memoir or autobiography. And a lot of people are doing that now. I talked about Kerry Washington's book, Thicker Than Water. I read that not too long ago. I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to read Viola Davis's because I heard some of the stuff is pretty heavy and I have to be in the mental space to actually listen. Oh, Rabbit, Comedian Miss Pat. I'm on my second time reading that. That's a heavy one too. I like her show. I wanted to hear more. I've listened to the audio and she speaks her audio. I love when an author tells their story in an audio book. It's so dope. All right, book it with Kendall Anise. Make sure you tell me what you're reading. Give me your suggestions. Have a good day. God bless y'all. Peace. Oh, and Jessica Simpson, that was good too.